it's time for me to put all my lists together. Yeah, it's that time. Busy time. You gotta make lists. Make lists, and you gotta put it somewhere where you won't lose it. Unless I lose my phone, and that's a problem. So I'm making up these lists, and I'm doing my research, looking for what I want to put on my list. And it gets harder and harder and harder to figure out what to put on there, because when I'm looking for the things to put on my list, I'm reading things like, this pillow will give your husband or whoever, family member, the best night's sleep ever. If this blanket will have you fall asleep in no time. And then there are things like, this toy will bring you hours of fun. Hours of fun. I kind of remember being promised that before, something that would bring me hours of fun. I don't remember what it was called, but it was something like these little rock thingies that you put in water and then they grow. And what was that? The crystals, yes, growing crystals. Hours of fun. Okay, 5 minutes later, I'm like, now what? I can't really do anything with them, or they're not worth any money. It wasn't exactly what was promised. So be careful when you're making your list, because I'm not so sure that pillow that I found will bring you the best night's sleep ever. I don't know about that. I don't think a pillow has that much power. But what does? What does have power? Hey, you guys want to see something cool? Come here for a second. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, they are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Did you hear that? The Bible tells me so. You see, I don't have to worry about the promises in the world from us. We have the best promise ever given to us in the Bible. So I want to read to you. When we get a little confused, this is what we do. We go to the Bible. Jesus is telling his disciples when they're questioning him about some things like, how will we know? How will we know? You ever ask these questions? Why? How do I know? When? Yeah, Jesus got a lot of those questions. He's got a lot more coming too. So they're asking him these questions, and he says, then Jesus begins to say to them, in Mark chapter 13, verse 5 and 6. When Jesus began to say to them, beware that no one leads you astray. Many will come in my name and say, I am he, and they will lead many astray. You have nothing to fear, because we've got all those promises. If it follows the word of Jesus, then it's guaranteed. Maybe the pillows aren't. Maybe that great night's sleep with that blanket isn't. And maybe that toy won't bring you hours of fun. But Jesus brings us the best promise ever. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for your word. We thank you for your son, Jesus. We thank you for giving us the very thing we need to carry on, to carry your love out into the world. The promise, the guarantee that your love is with us forever. It's in your son's name. Amen.
I kind of thought maybe it was a combination of the pillow and blanket. I invite you to hear these words from the 13th chapter of Mark's Gospel. As he was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings." "Do you see all these great buildings?" replied Jesus. "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." Later, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are about to be fulfilled?" Jesus said to them, "Watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am he,' and will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains." This is the word of the Lord. Now, Jesus' conversation here, according to Mark, goes on. And in fact, it's the longest conversation that Jesus has with his disciples, according to Mark's Gospel. This entire chapter, Jesus is making these end-time apocalyptic predictions. Hear this. What do we try to do? We try to figure out what's going on. This morning, when I got up, my normal routine is I just put on the coffee and I get myself some vanilla yogurt and granola. Throw a few blueberries, and then I go sit in my chair that looks out upon the lake. And this morning, I noticed very clearly, no, that's not right. But very obvious, as I sat there, that the lake reflected the gray of the sky. And then the haze that was there, I could make out the shoreline pretty decent on the other side of the lake, closest to us. But as it went on down the lake, it disappeared into gray. There was no defining where water was, where sky was, where trees were. It just all becomes this gray. And I got to thinking, that's the way we are. We want to see through the gray of the future and to be able to clearly see what's out there before us. But that's not the way it works. We get today to live in. By the grace of God, tomorrow we get another day to live in. We're invited to live in the presence of God. In the present. Now. Can you imagine how shook up the disciples might have been that day? I mean, first off, we have to understand the disciples. Remember who they are? They're a bunch of blue-collar workers from Galilee, several miles away from Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a big city. This is urban, first century Middle East. Jerusalem. They're from Galilee. They're fishermen. They're laborers. They understand what it is to hand to mouth, day to day, work hard to survive. And now they're tourists in Jerusalem, and they're marveling at this spectacle that is the temple. Now that temple is the third one. The first one is if we go back in the Old Testament, the first one, of course, was the temple built by Solomon, David's son. David wanted to build it, but God said, "No, David, it's not your job. Leave it to your son." And so up to that time through David, they worshiped was in a tent. Solomon builds his temple, and it stands for a long time. And it falls when the Babylonian army finally lays siege to Jerusalem, overwhelms it, and they destroy the temples, take all the valuable things of the temple with them back to Babylon. And then, about 100 years later, after the end of when God allows some of the generations that were displaced into captivity to return, they start to rebuild the temple again. And that's the Old Testament stories of Nehemiah. You'll find accounts of that. And they rebuild the temple, and it's not to the glory of the standards of what Solomon's temple was built. And it stood for another 400 years. And then King Herod the Great, and he likes to build. And he has a record of building these magnificent places because he saw that as his way to be remembered through all history as this great builder. And he takes it upon himself to rebuild the temple to the glory that it ought to be. And so he starts in, and they build this temple mount base with these huge stones. Some of them weigh 2 or 3 tons. Some of them, they think the largest weighs about 600 tons. And all these stones, and the level's off an area of about 40 acres. Can you imagine that? That you did that by hand on top of a tall hill, you leveled it off and backfilled this flat surface of about 40 acres, which would be a quarter mile by a quarter mile. It could accommodate 250,000 people on top of the Temple Mount. Now think about that. Our biggest football stadium is what, 100,000? 250,000 first century Middle East. And then, that's just the base to build the temple. And he builds this temple to rise into the sky. Covers it with marble and gold, so that as you approach Jerusalem, the sun reflected, caught your eye, and you couldn't. Well, sometimes you had to look away from it because it was as bright as the sun. But it was this glowing entity in the horizon that drew you to it. And it was all there to supposedly to glorify God, but let's be honest, Herod built it to make a name for himself. This is the temple that the disciples were in. Pondering the wonder of it, the beauty of it, the magnificence of it. It is in the same temple that just earlier they had seen the wealthy come and leave their gifts. The wealthy, the powerful, the shakers, if you will, in Jerusalem. And then they also noticed the little lady who gives her last 2 cents. But let's face it, if you're going to build something like this, it takes some bucks to keep it going, to finish it, to maintain it. We got a system going here. Of course they're being tourists. Of course they're overwhelmed by it. We would be too. I feel the same thing every time I go. I'm not real fond of going to Chicago, but if you go to Chicago, downtown Chicago, there's a Sears tower soaring into the sky, and you look at all that's been built there, wondering. Then Jesus drops his bombshell. It all comes down. It all will be rubble. And they leave. How's that possible? Well, 70 years later, which is really about the time Mark's gospel gets written. So, was it already imminent, or had it already happened that the temple was gone? But 70 years later, there's a revolt in the Jewish community. The Roman army comes in, lays siege to Jerusalem, takes a whole bunch of people prisoners, kills a whole bunch of people, and they burn the temple. And remember, I told you the temple was covered in gold. Gold melts at a relatively low temperature. And the gold ran down into the cracks of the stones and cooled off and settled in. If you heard the spoils of war, free pickings for the Roman army, and so they worked together to pry apart the stones to get the gold because it was there. To this day, that temple has not been rebuilt. The only thing that remains is part of the foundational walls, which, every now and then you'll hear some story from the Wailing Walls of Jerusalem. That's what it is. It's the remaining wall that held up the Temple Mount. Well, so much for my history and archaeology lesson here. What's this got to do with us? And I think it's there for us, what Jesus is pointing out, I think, is that what we think is rock solid, permanent, the way things are, he says it's all temporary. It all crumbles. It all falls apart. It could be in the big things of the world, and it could be maybe just in the occurrences of our lives. I remember my mom and dad, and for the longest time, my dad liked to go on vacations to places, and there were a time or two he committed. I remember particularly one time to a condo unit in Steamboat, a place that was going to be built called the Grand Hotel, and he bought in on this thing, but this is going to be great, and then he had second thoughts. But finally, condo unit in Hawaii. On the top floor of this Marriott resort that looked out on the ocean. That's what he is. He and Mom got to use it for about 2 years because my mom's dementia that turned into Alzheimer's. They're about to make a trip out there, and where she can't fly from St. Louis to Hawaii anymore. Go to Dallas. We get down to Dallas. My mom was lost, confused. In the airport, he just turns around and comes back home. Never to go to Hawaii again. The reason I tell you that is he had this plan. This is the way it's going to work out. We're going to spend our vacations in Hawaii, enjoying this beauty, this paradise. And yet, my mom's health causes all those stones to crumble and fall apart, and the whole thing ends up in decay, and we sold off the condo for a fraction of what it was originally worth. We know what it's like to have health issues suddenly arise in our lives. And the way we thought things would all work out, there is changed forever. It crumbles. It's not how we had it pictured. That's exactly what's going through the disciples' hearts. And I think that's what Jesus wants us to understand as well as live in the day, because you don't know what tomorrow. It could all fall apart. And then I even get to thinking, this being the temple, the center of life for the Jewish people, their faith, everything rested in this and the system that had been built around it. And Jesus says it all will fall apart. And I wonder, how much of these are messed up in our religious practice? Have we put up walls that need to be broken down so that because they're in the way instead of allowing us to be on the way? Now, here's the deal. This is the words of this scripture that struck me this week. It's so very easy to get caught up in this language of the big end that is around the corner. In fact, a couple of generations ago, pastors would use this piece, and here comes the hellfire and brimstone, and you better get your heart right with Jesus right now today. Let's go. Using fear as the motivational force to cause someone to turn to God. That is what a stumbling block for me, because if you don't realize what God is talking is, and what we speak and live into is pure love. So that's the words that come to me out of this passage. It's right at the end. The very last words that Jesus says. These are the beginning of birth pains. These earthquakes and wars and famines and fires. All this is just perfect. I got to thinking about that. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's this. It's not the end. It's a new life. It's a beginning. To see when things around us seem to be falling apart, to be looking farther out and to realize that we're being invited in to something new. Perhaps being freed from something that's holding us back so that we can be fully the child of God that God calls us to be, desires for us to be. And so this becomes my Thanksgiving sermon, if you will, to give thanks that God so loves us, that He is with us through all, that nothing separates us from His love. That God will not let us go. But we are eternally His. And God offers us today, every day, new life, new opportunities, new hope with Him. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. Well, I got a song in here. It's sung to the tune of "For Jesus I Have Promised." Different words. This passage